You really don't want to do this, I said, looking around the room. But they were all smiling, grinning like hyenas circling a wounded deer. Her mother, her father, her two sisters, and the piece of crap sitting at the edge of the sofa in a wrinkled hoodie, Brian, her little brother. The same guy who once borrowed my car and returned it with vomit in the back seat. He was now asking me for 15 grand. Correction, they were all demanding it. We took a family vote, her father said, as if this was the goddamn Supreme Court. And the majority believes it's the right thing to do. I glanced at my wife, Sarah. She didn't look at me. She just sat there, arms crossed, pretending her phone was the most interesting thing in the world. No support, no loyalty, no spine. Majority rules, her mother repeated with a smug little smile. It's how we do things in this family. I tilted my head. Oh yeah, I said, pulling a folded document from my jacket pocket. Then let's vote on something else. Silence. I threw the paper on the coffee table. It slid across and stopped right in front of Sarah. It was the private investigator's report. Photos, times, hotel receipts. And right at the top, subject, Sarah Daniels. Affair under investigation. The room exploded in chaos. Sarah shot up like someone lit her chair on fire. What the hell is this? Her dad stood too. Is this some kind of joke, Alex? Brian laughed nervously. Dude, this isn't cool. You want to talk about family decisions? I said, voice rising. Your daughter's been giving private tutoring sessions to her gym trainer while I was working 12-hour shifts to keep this roof over your heads. Sarah snatched the file off the table, flipping through it with shaking hands. Her eyes went wide. Real wide. She slammed it closed and looked at me like I was the villain. You hired a PI? Are you serious? UF asterisk 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 Ed Kyle in the back of his Subaru. Yeah, I'm serious. More yelling. Her sisters started crying. Her mom said something about embarrassing the family, and her dad actually had the nerve to ask me to calm down. But I wasn't done. You voted, I said slowly, looking at each one of them. You voted to shake me down for money. And your daughter's been shaking someone else down behind my back. So let me return the favor. I walked to the TV stand, grabbed a second envelope. This, I said, holding it high, is a notarized motion for divorce. With evidence of infidelity attached. That means I get the house, the car, and full custody of our dog, Max. Sarah gasped. You're insane. No, I replied, stepping closer. What's insane is you thinking I wouldn't find out. What's insane is screwing Kyle during your lunch break, then texting me to pick up almond milk like we're still normal. Brian mumbled something under his breath. What was that? I snapped. He looked up, suddenly brave. You're just mad 'cause she finally got bored of you. I didn't hit him. But God, I wanted to. Instead, I leaned in close and whispered, when I refused to give your loser-ass money, you tried to humiliate me in front of everyone. Now look around. Who's humiliated now? Sarah was trembling. Not crying. Not apologizing. Just furious that she'd been caught. She clenched her jaw like she wanted to spit fire at me. You're ruining everything. You already ruined it, babe, I said. I just gave it a name. Then I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't break anything. I just walked out, calm and silent, while chaos screamed behind me. Her family's little power play had just backfired in the most nuclear way possible. And it was only the beginning. It started with the gym bag. Sarah never used to care about the gym. When we first met, she hated sweating. She said treadmills felt like hamster wheels, and her idea of cardio was shopping at Target. But suddenly, 3 months ago, she became obsessed. She'd leave for Zumba at 6 a.m., come back glowing like she'd just seen Jesus, and start talking about core strengthening like she was prepping for the Olympics. At first, I was happy for her. I thought maybe she wanted to feel good again. I even bought her new workout clothes, surprised her with wireless earbuds. I was proud of her. Then she started showering before she got home. That was the first crack. I asked her about it, casually. She smiled and said the gym had upgraded their locker rooms. Luxury spa vibes, she joked. But her clothes were always too clean. Her hair too dry. Her perfume too strong for a woman who'd just been running laps. And then came the girls' nights. Every Thursday. Same outfit. Tight jeans, low-cut top, red lipstick she never used to wear. When I asked who she was going out with, she'd always say, you don't know them, just some girls from Pilates. I'm not an idiot. She never took Pilates. One Thursday, I waited up. She came home at 2:17 a.m., cheeks flushed, pupils wide. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to be half asleep. She jumped when she saw me. Jesus, Alex, you scared me. You're late. We lost track of time. I watched her as she kicked off her heels. She was walking funny. Not drunk. Just sore. You smell like cologne. It's a club, Alex. There's a lot of people. Something felt off. But I didn't want to accuse her. I didn't want to be that guy. The paranoid husband. So instead, I let it sit. I watched. I listened. I counted every lie she thought was a throwaway. 2 weeks later, I found the receipt, tucked inside her coat pocket. A hotel bar. 2 cocktails, a steak, a sweet. Her name was on the bill. I didn't say anything that night. I just went to bed and stared at the ceiling. My heart was racing. My fingers were numb, but my brain was already in motion. The next day, I hired a PI. His name was Rick. Older guy. Clean cut. Wore a windbreaker like he was in a 90s cop show. I gave him a photo of Sarah, a list of her routines, and a week's worth of, I think she's cheating fuel. He nodded once, took the folder, and said, I'll have something for you in 4 days. He had something in 2. Photos. Timestamped. My wife, bent over the passenger seat of a black Subaru. A man with a six-pack and no morals had his hands all over her. Same guy she once mentioned, Kyle, her trainer. I didn't even remember his face until I saw him again, holding my wife's hips like they were his. The photo made my stomach turn. She looked happy. Really happy. I sat in my car that night, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at that picture until the sun came up. I'd been played, used, lied to daily while she smiled and asked if I wanted chicken or salmon for dinner. That weekend was her mom's birthday, which meant dinner at her parents' place, an annual nightmare I usually drowned in wine. But this time, they had an agenda. Her loser brother Brian had just lost another job and wanted to start his own business. Translation: take my money and burn it. And that's how we got to the vote. They thought they were so clever. Corner me, guilt-trip me, bully me into funding Brian's weed shop or crypto scam or whatever dumb plan he was pretending was genius. But I came prepared. I didn't just bring the PI's report. I brought it printed, copied, stapled, highlighted. I made sure there was enough evidence in that envelope to light their entire house on fire. And when I dropped it on the table, I saw it. That flicker in Sarah's eyes. Not guilt. Not shame. Fear. The kind of fear that only shows when a liar realizes they're not in control anymore. I fed on it. And when I told them about the divorce, about the evidence, about everything I was taking with me, they knew. The game was over. No more power plays. No more majority votes. I was done being the nice guy. Done being the ATM, the husband, the backup plan. I walked out of that house with nothing but my keys and a thin smile. But I'd never felt lighter. Shall I continue with the confrontation at home? I got home before she did. The whole drive back. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I always thought I'd be shaking when this day came. Maybe screaming. Maybe punching a wall. But no, I was ice. Cold. Focused. I opened the front door, walked in, and sat on the couch like I owned the place. Because I did. She didn't know it yet, but I'd already moved the mortgage out of her reach. I'd frozen the joint account too. She was about to learn what it felt like to be powerless. She walked in 10 minutes later, swinging her purse, humming some tune like nothing had just blown up. Then she saw me. Her smile faded. You left early, she said, tossing her keys into the bowl. That was rude. I didn't answer. She kicked off her heels. Well, I guess that little stunt of yours at my parents' place made you feel real big, huh? I stood up, walked to the kitchen counter, and slid the envelope across to her. She didn't touch it. Just looked at it like it was ticking. More PI crap, she muttered. Open it. She didn't. So I did it for her. I laid out the photos, one by one. Her, half-dressed outside that motel. Her, sitting in Kyle's lap in his car. Her, sneaking out the gym's back door with her hair tied up and her wedding ring in her pocket. Jesus, Alex, she finally spat. This is so dramatic. I blinked. Dramatic? Yeah, she snapped. You're acting like I killed someone. It was just she hesitated, then rolled her eyes. It wasn't even serious. I laughed. It just came out. Raw. Loud. Bitter. You been over in his back seat, I said. He took you to a hotel. You made a second life for yourself between burpees and protein shakes. And now you're telling me it wasn't serious. She crossed her arms. Defensive. Cocky. No remorse. I didn't love him, okay? It was just fun. I needed something different. Something cracked inside me. I leaned in close. You needed different? I whispered. Try being married to someone who'd work his ass off so you wouldn't have to. Who'd take your family's endless bulls **** without saying a word. Who'd stay loyal even when he knew something was wrong because he believed in you. She scoffed. Yeah, well, maybe if you didn't act like my dad's accountant, I wouldn't have gotten so bored. There it was. The truth. The real Sarah. Not the girl I married. Not the woman who once cried at our wedding vows. This thing in front of me was something else. A selfish, entitled brat who thought loyalty was optional and consequences were negotiable. You disgust me, I said. She smiled. You always were a little dramatic. Don't worry, I added. You won't have to put up with my drama much longer. I walked to the hallway closet, grabbed the suitcase I'd packed earlier that day, and wheeled it out. Her face twitched. Wait, what are you doing? I told you. I'm done. Oh, come on, Alex, don't be stupid. We can fix this. Fix what? Your affair? Your lies? The fact that you and your family tried to bully me into funding your brother's fantasy business. She didn't answer. I walked to the door. And then she said it. I bet Kyle's better in bed anyway. She said it loud, clear, sharp, like a knife meant to cut deep. But it didn't land the way she wanted it to. Because in that moment, I saw her. Really saw her. Not as my wife, but as a hollow, bitter woman who just lost the only man who ever treated her with real love. I smiled. Tell him to buy you dinner next time. I hear he's broke. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't flinch. And as I pulled away from the house we built together, the last thing I felt wasn't sadness. It was relief. I had finally left the lie. Shall I keep going into the emotional aftermath and the decisions that followed? I didn't sleep that night. I tried. God, I tried. The motel bed was stiff as hell. The AC rattled like it was coughing up bolts, and the sheets smelled like detergent and disappointment. But none of that kept me up. What did was the silence. The silence after 10 years of noise. After late-night arguments about nothing. After fake laughs at dinner parties. After hearing her whisper someone else's name into a phone when she thought I was asleep. No, nothing. Just me, a ceiling, and a clock ticking like it was counting down to something. Maybe the end of who I was before this. I kept staring at the ceiling tiles, wondering, when did she stop loving me? Maybe it wasn't all at once. Maybe it bled out slowly. One ignored kiss. One lazy lie. One missed call. Until she just stopped seeing me as a man and started seeing me as a paycheck in a hoodie. I went to the office the next morning like a zombie. My assistant, Tina, asked if I was okay. I told her I was fine. I wasn't. I couldn't focus on the numbers. Couldn't look at spreadsheets. All I saw were her eyes, dead and empty, telling me Kyle was better in bed. By lunch, I found myself outside a lawyer's office. Clean place. Smelled like fake leather and fresh coffee. I handed him the file the PI gave me. His eyes widened as he flipped through it. Jesus, he muttered. You weren't kidding. I want everything I'm owed, I said. House. Car. No spousal support. And I want the dog. He nodded. With this evidence, you'll get it. Good. Because Max didn't deserve to live with a woman like her. He was loyal. Loving. Everything she used to pretend to be. I drove back to the house 3 days later. She wasn't supposed to be home, but she was. Kyle's car wasn't in the driveway, so I assumed maybe they had a fight. Or maybe he bailed now that she didn't have the safety net of a husband. He got what he wanted. That's what parasites do. She opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes were red. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Can we talk? No. Alex, please. I didn't move. I didn't answer. Just 5 minutes, she begged. I pushed past her and walked straight to the bedroom. I knew what I came for. Some clothes. My grandfather's watch. A framed photo of Max and me at the lake. Everything else could burn. She followed me down the hall like a ghost. You're really going through with it? I didn't answer. I was stupid, she whispered. It didn't mean anything. Stop saying that. What? That it didn't mean anything. You risked everything for him. You told him things you never told me. You smiled in those pictures in ways you stopped smiling at me years ago. Don't insult both of us by pretending it was nothing. She started crying. Real tears. Loud ones. I didn't care. You just walked away, she sobbed. Like I meant nothing to you. I turned to her, dead in the eyes. You lied to me for months. You stripped every ounce of trust from this marriage. And when I needed you, when your family tried to corner me for money, you sat there and watched. You walked away first. You just never had the balls to do it out loud. That shut her up. She stood there, breathing heavy, mascara running, but I saw it, deep down, beneath all the fake regret. She was pissed I didn't come crawling back, that I didn't beg her to stay, that I made the decision for both of us. That was always the problem with her. She wanted power, but not responsibility. She wanted freedom, but not consequences. I zipped up my duffel bag and headed for the door. Max's leash was hanging by the coat rack. She didn't stop me. I turned one last time. "You'll regret this," I said quietly. "Not because you lost me, but because you lost the only man who ever stayed when he should have run." And then I walked away again. Only this time, it felt final. Should I continue with what happened after the divorce started and how life began to shift for me? The day the divorce papers were served, she called me 37 times. I didn't answer once. She tried texts next. Paragraphs that swung between rage, desperation, and manipulation. One second it was, "You're really doing this? After everything?" And the next it was, "You'll be nothing without me." Funny. I was already starting to feel like something again. I didn't feel free yet, but I felt cleaner. Lighter. Like I'd finally dropped a weight I didn't even know I'd been carrying. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, nothing fancy, but it had clean floors, working locks, and no perfume on the pillow. Max adjusted fast. Dogs always know. He stuck close to me, almost as if he could sense I needed him more than ever. I started running. Every morning, at sunrise. I'd never been a runner, but something about the pounding of my feet on pavement gave me peace. Clarity. Something Sarah never gave me in those last years. One morning, about 3 weeks in, I ran past Kyle. Yeah, Kyle. He was outside a gas station, leaning against his car, shirt off, talking to some girl who couldn't have been older than 20. I slowed down just long enough to see his busted front bumper and the stain on his gym shorts. Our eyes met. He smirked like a high school quarterback who peaked too early. "Hey," he said, cocky. "Tell Sarah I said hi." I didn't say a word, just kept running. But the next day, I called my lawyer and asked him to push forward with the asset freeze. If Kyle thought he was still a factor in her life, he was about to learn what it felt like when the money dried up. Because Sarah? She didn't work. She never had to. She was my full-time dependent with an expensive taste for brunch and online shopping. But that was over. 2 weeks later, she sent her sister to ask for a talk. I met her in a public cafe. No privacy. No drama. She showed up with sunglasses on, like she was the victim in a soap opera. "Sarah's not doing well," her sister began. "She's been crying every day. She says you're destroying her." Did she cry when she was riding Kyle? Silence. Thought so. Her sister took a shaky breath. "Look, she made a mistake. But you guys had 10 years together. Doesn't that count for something?" "It does," I said. "It counts as a decade of lies, manipulation, and pretending. And I'm not doing it anymore. Alex, she's really sorry." "No. She's really caught." I got up, tossed some cash on the table, and left before I could say more. Because the truth was, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. Not in the way I expected to be. What I felt was distance. Like that whole life had happened to someone else. That night, I poured myself a glass of bourbon, sat on the balcony with Max at my feet, and just listened to the city hum around me. It hit me then. Really hit me. I survived her. Not just the betrayal. Not just the lies. I survived her. All of it. Her games. Her cold shoulder. Her fake apologies. I walked through hell, and I didn't burn. I walked out cleaner than I went in. And now, I had one job left. Make sure no man ever falls for the same mask I did. Shall I continue with how I moved on? What changed in my mindset? And the final closure moment? I didn't start dating right away. Honestly, the idea of another woman near me made my skin crawl. I wasn't bitter. I was just wiser now. More cautious. I learned the hard way that someone can say they love you every day for years and still be planning an escape the whole time. Trust is like glass. And Sarah didn't crack it. She drop-kicked it off a rooftop. So, I focused on rebuilding. I got back into cooking. Real food. Not frozen dinners or takeout bags. Max became my unofficial sous chef, always watching, tail-thumping whenever he smelled meat. I rediscovered music, vinyl, mostly. Old stuff. Real stuff. And I started writing again. Not poetry or anything dramatic. Just thoughts. Bits of memory. Things I never got to say when I was too busy trying to keep the peace. Sometimes I'd catch myself laughing. Alone. At something dumb. And I'd pause surprised. I hadn't laughed in months. Maybe years. That's when I knew. I wasn't just healing. I was coming back to life. I ran into Sarah again, eventually. Not planned. Not dramatic. Just a grocery store on a rainy Thursday. She was in the wine aisle, hair tied up, wearing that same green jacket I bought her on our 4th anniversary. The one she said made her feel like a woman who reads French novels. Funny. She never read anything except Instagram captions. She spotted me before I could turn away. Alex, she said. Like my name still belonged to her. I nodded. You look good, she added, eyes scanning me like she was trying to calculate if I was doing better without her. Spoiler. I was. Thanks, I said. You look busy. My eyes dropped to her cart, frozen dinners, a single bottle of cheap wine, dog food. No Max, obviously. Just a new name, probably. A new leash. I miss you, she blurted. That stopped me. Not because it touched me, but because it was so Sarah. No apology. No ownership. Just a reach. A hook. Like she still believed she had a line into my heart. I didn't smile. You miss what I gave you, I said. Not me. Her face fell. But I kept going. You miss the man who forgave your tantrums, paid your bills, covered for your family's messes, and loved you even when you didn't deserve it. She looked like she wanted to argue, but I didn't give her the chance. Take care, Sarah. And just like that, I walked away. No dramatics. No fireworks. Just a quiet ending. She never chased me again. Some nights I still think about the moment it all snapped. That family vote. Her silence. My file on the table. The chaos that followed. It plays in my head like a scene from someone else's movie. A version of me that bled too much for a woman who'd already packed her bags in her mind. But I'm grateful. Not for the pain. Not for the betrayal. But for the truth. Because once you've seen someone's real face, you stop falling for the mask. No? No, I don't chase love. I let it find me if it ever does. But I'll never again trade my peace for someone else's comfort. Never again lower myself to keep someone from walking away. And I'll never, ever ignore the signs. I'm not the same man who sat on that couch, watching his wife lie with a mouthful of excuses and no trace of guilt. That man is gone. The one who replaced him? He knows what he's worth. He knows what real love looks like. And he'll never settle for less again. It took almost 6 months for the divorce to be finalized. She delayed it. Of course she did. Claimed emotional distress, said she needed space before signing. Her lawyer tried to play cute, throwing out settlements like we were haggling over a used car instead of 10 years of my life. But I didn't budge. I had the photos, the receipts, the PI's full report, and the look on her face during that family vote burned into my memory. They thought they could break me, but all they did was teach me how to walk without a leash. When the final papers came through, I didn't throw a party. No big celebration. I just sat at the kitchen table, opened the envelope, and read the words dissolution of marriage like they were the last sentence in a book I'd forced myself to finish. Then I took a breath so deep, it shook my ribs. That night, I went back to the lake, the one where Max and I used to fish. It was late, too cold for comfort, but I needed to stand there. I needed to feel the silence, the wind off the water, the sound of the trees whispering things no one else could hear. Max sat beside me, tail curled around his feet, eyes on the dark. You remember how she used to hate coming here? I said aloud, knowing he didn't care about the words but would understand the tone. She said the bugs made her itchy. Said the quiet made her feel small. I laughed under my breath. The quiet saved me, Max. And that's when I realized. I hadn't thought about her face in days. Not really. Not the real her. Not the mask she wore when she wanted something. Not the forced laughs. Not the fake cries. Not even the way she used to say, I love you, like it was a habit. It was like her presence had faded. Like the smoke finally cleared and left nothing but open sky. I met someone new a few months later. Not in the way movies romanticize it. No spilled coffee, no locked eyes from across the room. Just a bookstore. A real one. She was standing in the psychology section, thumbing through a paperback about boundaries. We talked. Briefly. Politely. She smiled like she meant it. And when I asked if she came there often, she laughed and said, wow, that was almost charming. Her name was Julia. We didn't go out right away. We talked first. For weeks. Calls. Messages. Walks with our dogs. Nothing rushed. Nothing fake. She didn't ask about Sarah. I didn't volunteer. Eventually, I told her. Not the full mess, but the parts that shaped me. The betrayal. The lies. The way I lost myself in trying to keep a woman who didn't want to be kept. She listened. Quiet. No judgment. Just understanding. And when she finally spoke, she didn't say, I'm sorry. She said, "That must have hurt like hell." That's how I knew she was different. We're still figuring it out, Julia and I. There's no promises. No illusions. Just two people who've been burned and are careful not to set fires in each other's lives. And that's enough for now. If someone asked me what I learned from all of this, I'd tell them this. Listen early. Leave sooner. And never mistake chaos for passion. Love isn't meant to hurt like that. Love isn't silence during a betrayal. Love doesn't sit still when you're being broken. If you ever feel like you're begging to be chosen, you're in the wrong story. Walk away. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave the room before they vote. And bring the match with you. The day I truly knew it was over wasn't when the papers were signed, or when I left the house with Max, or even when I saw her at that grocery store trying to claw her way back into my life with crocodile tears and a shopping cart full of regrets. It was the night I slept and didn't dream about her. No memories. No arguments. No what-ifs. Just quiet. Peaceful, undisturbed sleep. I woke up with the sun on my face, Max curled up by my feet, and a strange, powerful stillness in my chest where the war used to be. That's when I realized I hadn't lost a wife. I'd lost an illusion. And in return, I found myself. So if you're reading this, if you're in the middle of it, questioning your worth, watching someone chip away at your dignity piece by piece, don't wait for the explosion. Don't sit through the lies, hoping they'll somehow turn into truth. If she's cheating, lying, disrespecting you in public and in private, that's not your wife. That's a stranger wearing her face. Walk, even if it breaks you at first. Because one day, sooner than you think, you'll look in the mirror and see him again. The man you were before her. The man who gave too much. Who tolerated too long. Who bent so far, he almost snapped. You'll see him. And you'll nod. Maybe smile a little, and say, there you are. And if you're lucky, someone new might come along, not to fix you, not to save you, but to meet you in the middle, with open hands and no hidden daggers. But even if she doesn't, you'll be good. Because peace? Peace is worth more than a ring. Peace doesn't cheat. Peace doesn't vote against you in your own goddamn living room. And peace always wins in the end.